Okay. Can you hear me, Professor Sen?
Yes, it's all good. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thanks to Professor Sen. Good evening. I'm Lu Yu, a PhD student in geological engineering from the School of Earth Sciences and Engineering, Nanjing University. It is a great honor for me to share my work here. The topic of my report today is Biochar implications for the engineering properties of soils. On the following three aspects. Firstly, the background of the study. According to the carbon reduction targets, China is currently facing a serious challenges of peak carbon dioxide emissions and carbon neutrality. Meanwhile, huge amount of waste was produced annually with the rapid development of society and the economy in China. And many of those can be recycled and converted into biochar, which can reduce greenhouse gas emissions as well as promote economic cycle development. Subsequently, large numbers of studies lead to the fact that biochar typically inhibits low-density, high specific surface area, high pH, and high CEC. Those characteristics make applicable for carbon dioxide sequestration, production enhancement, and environmental remediation in particularly. Most existing studies that utilize biochar for environmental remediation until now focused on the influence biochar itself had on the micro scale. That is the immobilizations of heavy metals by direct, that is physical disruption, electrostatic attraction, ion exchange, compression, and precipitation, and the indirect actions of biochar. New methods were also developed in recent years to optimize the properties of biochar. It is generally accepted that biochar applied to the field would interact with soil particles and water, especially in the context of frequent global climate extremes. During prolonged water loss, the soil may crack, accompanied by shrinkage, which provided an advantageous channel for the downward migration of contaminants as the permeability increased. Given this background, it is worthwhile to focus on how biochar affects the soil engineering properties and how this change further affects the long-term performance of biochar. Therefore, attention should be paid to the engineering properties of biochar amended soil. As we all know, soil engineering properties consist of physical, hydrological, and mechanical properties. When describing the impact of biochar, it's to understand the nature of biochar first. It can be seen that wood-based biochar on high SSA, low ash content, pH, CEC, and vice versa immunose biochar. High pyrolysis temperatures increase the ash content, pH, SSA, and decrease the CEC. So it is expected that different biochar will exhibit different effects. So soil physical properties are the most basic. Biochar generally reduce the soil-specific gravity through replacement, and this effect was more pronounced in the crop-based biochar. We also improved the prediction formula for the specific gravity of biochar amended soil, and a better prediction was achieved as shown in the figure. Additionally, we found that Biochar could reduce the maximum dry density due to its low specific gravity, while increase the optimal moisture content as it was porous. As for water ratio, we found that sample state, that is dry density and the degree of compression, and biochar properties are two factors that control the water ratio of soils. Under the same dry density, biochar decreased it, while the opposite same degree of compression. Soil hydrological properties respond to the interaction between clay particles and water. We found that biochar generally increased soil plastic limit and shrinkage limit, since it would preferentially absorb water inside soils under unsaturated conditions, leaving limited water to be absorbed by clay particles. However, liquid limit can either increase or decrease depending on the biochar and the soil properties, and decrease in soils with a high fine content. Biochar generally inhibited cracking regardless of sample states, while difference in water ratio in swelling. Biochar increased the swelling under the same dry density and decreased it under the same DOC. As you can see from the bottom graph, the relief of cracking in biochar amended soils should be associated with a decrease in plasticity index. Unfortunately, we failed, which means that the classical theory that the higher the plasticity index of the soil, the safer the cracking, may not be applicable to biochar amended soil. In terms of saltwater characteristics curve, the effect depends on the gap between the water holding capacity of biochar and the soil, and the influence was more pronounced in sandy soil, wood-based, high temperature, and fine particles biochar. Finally, we investigated the effect of biochar on the mechanical properties and found that biochar decreased the compressibility under the same dry density. And under the same degree of our compression, response of compressibility on the change depends on the change of water ratio, degree of saturation, and the structural mechanical properties of biochar. Similar regulators appear in the shear, compressive, and tensile strengths. From the above study, the following conclusions were obtained. First, biochar properties and soil texture are two key factors affecting the effect of biochar on the engineering properties. Second, the initial state of biochar amended soils requires special attention when evaluating the effect of biochar on the soil engineering properties. To promote further applications of biochar in geological and geotechnical engineering, we recommend areas for the further research. First, standardize the biochar preparation process and policy. Second, strengthen the research of biochar on the engineering properties under a high degree of compression. Finally, enhance mechanism research, including the direct and indirect effect of biochar. This is my report.